Open your phone right now and look at the little red circle sitting on top of one of your apps. Before you even open it, something in your chest tightens, just slightly. That's not an accident. That number was put there by someone who studied exactly how to make you feel that way. You've probably never thought about it this directly, but almost every app you use is engineered to make you feel a tiny bit incomplete, not miserable, not devastated, just slightly, naggingly unfinished. Enough to make you open it, enough to make you scroll one more time, enough to make you check just to make that small feeling go away. This isn't a conspiracy theory, it's a documented design philosophy, and it has a name, a history, and researchers who have spent decades mapping exactly how it works on you. Let's start with that red circle. It's called a badge notification, and its entire purpose is to create what psychologists call a Zeigarnik effect. This comes from psychologist Zeigarnik, who noticed something strange in the 1920s while sitting in a busy Vienna cafe. She observed that waiters could remember unpaid orders in perfect, exhaustive detail, but the moment a bill was settled, the memory simply evaporated. Unfinished tasks stay loud in the mind. Finished ones go quiet almost instantly. That red circle with a number in it is a manufactured unfinished task. It doesn't matter if the number is 1 or 99. Your brain reads it the same way it reads an open door in a house you're trying to lock up for the night. Something is not closed. Something needs attention. App designers know this. They've known it for over a decade, and they've built entire teams around exploiting it. Now think about the scroll itself. The endless, bottomless feed that never runs out of new content no matter how far down you go. This wasn't always how apps worked. Early web pages had pages. You clicked next, you reached an end. Then, in 2006, a designer named Asa Raskin invented something called infinite scroll, a piece of code that automatically loads more content the instant you reach the bottom of the screen, so you never hit a wall that might make you stop and ask yourself if you actually want to keep going. Raskin has since spoken publicly about regretting this invention. He's compared it to a slot machine that never runs out of coins because the psychological mechanism underneath it is nearly identical to gambling. There is no natural stopping point built into the design, which means the only thing that can make you stop is you, actively fighting against an interface engineered to never give you a reason to. This connects to something deeper, something researchers call intermittent reinforcement, first documented by psychologist B.F. Skinner in the 1950s. Skinner ran an experiment with pigeons in a box with a lever. Some pigeons got a food pellet every single time they pressed it. Others got a pellet only sometimes, on a schedule that was completely unpredictable. The second group pressed the lever far more often and kept pressing it far longer than the first. An unpredictable reward doesn't satisfy the brain. It hooks it. Every scroll on your feed is a lever press. Most of the time, nothing special happens. Sometimes there's a video that makes you laugh, a post that surprises you, a piece of information you didn't expect. You never know in advance which scroll will be the one that pays off, so you keep scrolling, the same way Skinner's pigeons kept pressing. But there's a layer to this that goes beyond simple reward, and it's the part that actually makes you feel slightly bad rather than simply entertained. Researchers studying app design have identified a category of interface choices now widely known as dark patterns, a term coined by user experience specialist Harry Brignull in 2010 to describe design decisions that deliberately trick or manipulate users into doing something they didn't intend to do. One of the most common dark patterns is what's sometimes called the roach motel design, named for the old pest control slogan, "Roaches check in, but they don't check out." Signing up for a subscription takes one click. Canceling it takes navigating through 5 or 6 menus, sometimes a phone call, sometimes a chat window that tries to talk you out of leaving before it lets you go. This isn't bad design. It's the opposite. It's extremely good design aimed at a goal that has nothing to do with your convenience. Then there's the comparison effect, something behavioral economists call the decoy effect, most famously demonstrated by researcher Dan Ariely in an experiment involving magazine subscriptions. Ariely found that offering a print-only subscription, a web-only subscription, and a print plus web subscription at the exact same price as the print-only option caused overwhelming numbers of people to choose the combined package, even though the same 3 options without the seemingly pointless print-only choice caused people to split their preferences much more evenly. The presence of a bad option wasn't a mistake. It was there specifically to make another option look better by comparison. You felt this everywhere without naming it. The middle-priced subscription tier that suddenly looks reasonable next to the expensive one. The recommended plan highlighted in a different color. The small text option to decline that's deliberately harder to find than the colorful button to accept. None of this happened by accident. Every pixel, every color, every placement was tested against thousands of users to see which version made more people do what the company wanted. Here's the part that should feel uncomfortable. This isn't about big corporations being evil in some cartoonish way. It's that the same principles Skinner found in pigeons, and the same effects Zeigarnik found in waiters, and the same comparison tricks Ariely found in magazine buyers, all work on you with total reliability, because your brain didn't evolve with an immune system against manufactured incompleteness. There was no version of human history where an unfinished task could infinitely regenerate itself the moment you finished it. There was no version of human history where a stranger studied your exact psychological profile and built an interface around your specific weak points. That's what's different now. Not that persuasion exists, persuasion has always existed, but that it's been industrialized, tested at scale, and refined by thousands of engineers optimizing for one single number: how long you stay and how often you come back. Consider your notification settings for a moment. Somewhere in an app's design meeting, there was a decision about exactly when to alert you. Too many notifications and you'd disable them entirely. Too few and you'd forget the app exists. Somewhere in between is a mathematically optimized frequency, tested across millions of users, tuned to keep you present without triggering the annoyance response that makes people uninstall. Your phone isn't randomly buzzing. It's buzzing at a frequency someone calculated. And this is where the discomfort really lives, because none of these mechanisms feel like manipulation while they're happening. They feel like your own choices. You decide to check the app, you decide to keep scrolling, you decide to pick the middle subscription tier. Every single interaction feels voluntary, because dark pattern design is built specifically so that the manipulation is invisible from the inside. You're not supposed to notice the roach motel while you're inside it. So why does this all add up to feeling slightly bad, rather than just feeling entertained or convenienced? Because incompleteness, comparison, and unpredictable reward all share a common side effect. They never resolve. The badge count refreshes. The feed never ends. The next tier is always slightly better than the one you picked. You are, by design, kept in a permanent state of almost satisfied, because a fully satisfied user is a user who closes the app and doesn't come back for a while, and that number, the return rate, is the one metric nearly every app is built around protecting. None of this means you're gullible or weak-willed or somehow failing to notice something obvious. These systems were built by teams of researchers, designers, and behavioral scientists specifically to be undetectable by the people using them. Recognizing the mechanism doesn't make you immune to it, but it does change what you're looking at. That itch to check the badge count isn't hunger for information. It's a lever, built by someone who understood exactly which part of you would press it. There's one more piece of this that rarely gets talked about, and it might be the most unsettling part. Most of these design decisions aren't made by a single person sitting down and deciding to manipulate you. They're made by something called A/B testing. A process where two slightly different versions of a button, a color, a notification wording, or a sign-up flow are shown to different groups of real users at the same time, and whichever version keeps people around longer or gets more clicks simply wins. Nobody necessarily sits in a room deciding, let's make cancellation hard. Instead, 100 small variations get tested, and the version that happens to be the most frictionful for leaving quietly rises to the top because it performed better on the only metric that mattered. In a strange way, this makes it worse, not better. Nobody had to be cruel on purpose. The system simply rewarded whichever design kept you trapped a little longer, and evolution-like selection did the rest. Generation after generation of tiny interface tweaks, refined entirely by whether they worked on people like you. Researchers studying this pattern of testing at scale have pointed out that this turns product design into something resembling natural selection, except the environment being adapted to isn't a forest or a savanna. It's your attention span, your loss aversion, your discomfort with unfinished business. The interfaces that survive to reach 1 billion users aren't the ones some engineer found most ethical. They're the ones that statistically produced the highest return rate, tested and refined across millions of sessions until they became nearly frictionless at capturing you specifically. This is why noticing the mechanism matters more than resisting any single app. You can delete one platform, and another will simply have refined the exact same tricks because they were never really about that specific app to begin with. They're about the shape of human attention itself, mapped and remapped by every company competing for the same finite resource: the minutes you have in a day. The next time you feel that small, nagging sense of incompleteness pulling you back to an app, you're not imagining it, and you're not broken. You're just standing in a room built pixel by pixel, tested against millions of people exactly like you to make you feel that way.